Randy, great to be with you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. For those that were expecting Dave Schneider, Dave had something come up. So Dave was kind enough to fill in and pinch hit. And I know this is definitely going to be a fantastic session. So Dave Donatelli is CEO of Riverbed. This is episode 151 of Tech Sales Insights. For those that are part of sales community, thanks. For those that are not, Tucker will put a link up. You can get a free membership. Go to salescommunity.com/fall free while it is still fall. So we have the title today is just basically lessons learned. So we're going to free flow a whole bunch of great feedback and content that Dave has learned over the years. We're sponsored today by Modigi. Modigi is a Salesforce managed package that takes about 90 minutes to install. Their mission is to help B2B sellers connect with certainty. Companies with an outbound calling culture use Modigi to fill in the gaps and validate what they have in terms of prospect contact information. So long story short, if you want to make sure you have the right mobile phone numbers, people are still working at the company, they've got the right title, the right location, they're able to do it. So basically making your sellers much more productive. So that is Moji, and great sponsor of Sales Community. So Dave lives in Atherton, which is in the Bay Area, and Newport. Has a fantastic family, wonderful wife, Michelle, daughter, Abigail, who's in tech sales, son, Christopher, who's a junior BU water polo player, and Timmy, who's a senior in high school. Hopefully it's okay to say I dubbed him, and I think everybody else did long ago, kind of the senator, but just awesome personality, and definitely look forward to great things from your whole family. Interests besides work and family for Dave, some of which I've enjoyed with him, golf, fishing, boating, and working out. We figured out, I think we've known each other from BC days, probably 40 years.
It's been a while. Yep.
Let's talk about dating ourselves back when we had a lot of hair, but definitely one of the best fathers, husband, and executives. I've worked with him. I've worked for him. He's excelled, really running almost all the functional areas at a EMC, which is, I think, rare for a CEO or go-to-market leader these days, around customer success, service, marketing, different sales units, business units, engineering in particular, which has, I think, really done him well over the years. He recruited me as the first outside exec hire at HP. I think his words were something to the effect, I'm not sure the order, but was kind of don't screw up and make sure you do well. So hopefully he did okay for some of that. We had 2 years, had some amazing times with great growth, some crazy ups, some crazy downs. We had to do some cuts, unfortunately, based on the market. But I think one of the highlights, I think in the first few months, within the first year, the numbers were off the chart. I think we hired 700 folks into our group that we had going on there. So it was certainly a great time. Dave is extremely customer and partner centric, always there to help on the sales effort. So I could obviously go on and on, but I also have some great comments from some other friends. Sean Kern, CEO of Arrow. Dave's analytical decision-making and communication skills make him highly effective technology executive. His ability to simplify the complex and bring strategic clarity to business is what CEOs and great board members are made of. Chris Riley, longtime sales leader. Also, I've had the pleasure of knowing Dave since the early days, EMC 1987. What I respect most is his leadership style, passionate about people, always looking to make the team around him stronger and better, and sets the vision for everyone to aspire to. He's a great friend to many and mentor to most. Antonio Neri, CEO of HPE. Dave is an inspirational and innovative leader. He has a unique ability to communicate with clarity and purpose. I've personally grown under his leadership, and to date, I continue to practice the amazing learnings I gathered through my interactions with him and working for him. I can confidently say he has had a profound impact on me as a leader. Pretty good. And then Billy Scannell. Dave, also known as Vegas, I should have said that in my intro comments, is an incredibly accomplished executive. I knew him early in his career when he was a junior product manager at EMC for our HP product line. to seeing him ascend to EVP of all development and engineering at EMC. He then had extremely successful runs at HP and Oracle, and now CEO of Riverbed. Only thing he was more successful at was landing Michelle as his lovely wife, otherwise known as best sales call he ever had. He continues to punch ahead of his weight class. And then Mike Ruckers, a longtime EMC CEO, says Dave's one of the top tech leaders and managers, successfully led both EMC and HP's enterprise efforts, then went on to be successful at Oracle, and I know he's going to be very successful at Riverbed. So can't get much better than that, huh?
Very nice of you to do that. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, everybody, for those kind words. I both a surprise and appreciated.
Awesome. So we'll jump into the questions here. So first job out of BC was at EMC.
Hired into sales at EMC, absolutely. And I called for Peter Bell in my training class. Is part of training, you had to do telesales, and I was a caller for Peter Bell.
Awesome. So these days, you would call that kind of SDR, BDR work. So yes, back in the early days, Dave and I and Peter, several others would actually do cold calling ourselves. And I guess I'd call it kind of cheating now, but would have to call the company and say, who's the data processing manager? How do you get through the kind of administrators? And now the sellers are kind of cheating because they already know who everybody is. They know where they are. They've got LinkedIn. So it's certainly a lot easier now than what we had it, right?
We had to get 15 hits a day. And so if you're meaning, connections, and if you're falling behind, since I called on the West Coast, if you really got desperate, you call Hawaii because that was part of the territory to make sure you got your 15 hits in. And then at EMC, Maureen Egan, the legendary Maureen Egan, sat in the bullpen. So that's the founder's wife. So you were being watched all day. And it used to always be, hey, where are you going? Get back in your chair and get on that phone. A great way to learn, is great training.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Eileen, who's in the mix there too, is called Levi. I don't know if people know the Jeans Levi 501, but if you left at 5 o'clock, you'd basically get ridiculed. So we have a couple of nice comments. Sarua says, "Hi Dave, looking forward to this." Adam Ferraro says, when I was a rep EMC, I used to watch and study Dave's recorded presentations of EMC's converged infrastructure. Well, I think it wasn't convergent infrastructure at EMC. It wasn't until I went to HP that we combined CI. Messaging, try to replicate. Great to see you guys. So thanks. So anybody else that's on that wants to comment or ask questions, feel free. So you want to maybe from there just kind of briefly go through your kind of impressive career, which actually, all things being said, for 40 years really was with probably a record low number of companies compared to most.
Yeah, we could talk about why I think that's important as well for people's careers. So at EMC, I was really fortunate. I got there early. As you heard, I was hired into sales. I moved into product marketing, from product marketing into customer service, where I ended up running level 1, 2, 3 technical support. From there, manufacturing and supply chain, got to build the factory. From there, software engineering, then hardware engineering, then software and hardware engineering combined. And then started a leasing business. Ultimately ended up running the storage business for the company.
Awesome.
And then from there, Hewlett Packard. Hewlett Packard was really exciting. That was running what is now called Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and at HPE, as you know, we're the world's largest supplier of servers. Did some nice acquisitions to get deeper into storage. One was 3PAR, and then on the networking side, 3Com, and those turned out to be pretty successful. So kind of built the business there, and then ultimately moved over to Oracle. At that time, Oracle was undergoing a very significant transition from an on-premise company into the cloud. And I was fortunate enough there to run what was called the Cloud Business Group, which was a conglomeration of everything from Oracle channels to what was left of the Sun business, to the Java business, to the Linux business, and then marketing for every product that Oracle made. And then now recently in July, I retired. Enjoyed retirement for a little bit. And then I got very kind of bored after a while and had started doing some work on boards and private equity. I was on the board of a company called Mark Logic, and Jeff Casale, another member you'll probably have on here one day, was CEO. and we successfully sold that company after 24 months. I liked the private equity group that we work with. We had a lot of fun. So I started helping them do due diligence on Riverbed, which happened to be an old HP partner back in the day. And like what I saw, especially around a lot of their new technology, and became CEO in July of this year when the acquisition was complete.
Awesome. Very cool. So we definitely want to focus on lessons learned, but kind of just from a Riverbed perspective to set the table. Can you explain what Riverbed does?
Sure. I'll give you two big areas that we play in. We play in what's called the observability market. Broadly that defined, that means we can understand everything from endpoints, think of your phone, your PC, your laptop, through applications, all the way through your network, and proactively understand how they're performing, proactively diagnose problems, and then ultimately fix those through the use of machine learning and AI autonomously for customers. So to give you a good idea of some of the things we do, big customer of ours, large consumer goods company, we stop 30,000 incidents from happening per year through automated fixing. The way I like to say it for you guys practically watching today, no one on earth likes to call a help desk. We make sure proactively problems are fixed so you never have to call a help desk, as an example. And on the network side, same thing, understanding what's happening on networks, understanding performance of networks, understanding if there's a problem, how to fix it. And then, in today's world, AI, data is king. And we collect data from all these endpoints, apply machine learning to it, again, to proactively help customers understand their environments and be proactive in fixing issues.
So I would imagine you sell kind of up and down the stack, but the kind of the top of the pyramid must be your kind of go-to that you're selling to.
Yes, we're very fortunate to have what I call who's customer list. So they're the largest banks in the world, the top airlines in the world, governments, the people you would expect. And so the more sophisticated their environment is, the more challenging their environment is, the better our products show. So we tend to do best in the high end, but we sell across the whole pyramid.
Awesome. So from a kind of title, I guess, ideal customer profile, probably traditionally been selling into CIOs, and I would imagine now you're trying to branch out within those accounts.
Yeah, it can be both. CIOs, particularly, and then on the operations side of the house, it's people who are in charge of networks, people who are in charge of PCs, endpoints, all those types of people who we sell to, and then all the way up through the business.
Awesome. And then kind of when I know what the answer to this is, kind of what do you think about advertising campaigns?
Not a fan. I would say every company I've been with, first thing I get asked by salespeople is, hey, why don't we run in a big ad campaign? And simply put, I'd say, I give you the same answer I gave at EMC, Hewlett Packard, Oracle, is no customer's ever bought an enterprise product off an ad. Just doesn't happen. But consistently, everybody wants to do that. I think if you've run big ad campaigns, and fortunately I've been able to do that in my career, what you'll see is to sustain them, to do them well, you have to spend about $500 million a year. And they do all kinds of great metrics afterwards. It shows that your recognition value goes up. But as soon as you stop spending that money, that recognition value drops off the table back to where it was before. So unless you're willing to invest that kind of money over, very long, many years, you're really not going to get much benefit out of ads. It ultimately, particularly at enterprise selling, it is one-to-one selling. It's always been one-to-one selling. I don't think it's really changed that much for the products, for the high-end enterprise products that I've been associated with in my career.
Gotcha. But different from advertising, I'd say kind of marketing, lead gen, you are kind of supportive of some of those efforts.
No, absolutely. Because what you'll see statistically, and most people I'm sure watching know this, is that in today's world, most of a customer's buying decision many times has been made before they meet you. So, but what they're really looking for there is not just a generic ad, hi, we exist as a company. They really want specific information and specific use cases about how your particular product solves their specific problem. And, customers are very smart. They do the research before they meet you. They want to understand how you rank versus other in the industry. They want to see other customers who've done what you do. And that I'm very supportive of. And I think it becomes increasingly important as we move forward.
Gotcha. I meant to ask earlier when we were talking about our telemarketing SDR, BDR roles. Do you have that function at Riverbed or not really because you're focused?
No, we don't. Yeah, because of where we are now. We had it, at a very large scale at both Oracle and HP,
Right.
and it's appropriate for those companies because again, we sold up and down the pyramid, and it made a lot of sense for those businesses. For our current business, it doesn't make as much sense.
Gotcha. And from a culture perspective, can you talk a little bit about that in terms of, maybe kind of what you inherited and maybe how you're kind of view the puck going?
Yeah, I think, well, I'll talk generally about the industry and then a little bit of Riverbed. If I was to generalize, I'd say I think the world's in a little bit of a post-COVID kind of bouncing around, trying to figure out what to do. And I very much hope, and I think most other CEOs would echo what I say, is that they want to get back to more of full employee engagement, full focus on the future and getting people back kind of working the way they were working before versus, in some cases, I think some people, and you read all the articles about it, right, is kind of not quite putting in the effort they once did. And there's for those who want to have great careers and those who want to really do well in life, there's no shortcut. You have to put the effort in to do well. Don't expect to do a half effort and have a great career. Definitely. So I think culturally that's what's out there. And I think to add to that, what companies owe back to the folks is you have to have a great vision and you have to have a purpose. And this is, these are the problems we're helping people solve. This is how we do it better. And this is how we're serving our customers. So it's not just about show up and do it because we want to do it. It's we have something, we're helping people here, and it's our job to go understand how we can help their business or their government and actually go doing it. There's a lot of satisfaction in that.
Awesome. And you have openings now as well, correct?
We are hiring. So we're very excited. We're seeing great growth in our technologies. Some practical examples I can give you, because I know it sounds a little high end. What do these products really do? I'll give you, a quick example. Major bank had 40,000 wealth managers. Because of the security protocols, it was taking those managers over 30 minutes to log in. You might think that's crazy, but you can't believe how often I hear these stories. And through our technology and understanding precisely what was wrong, we were able to fix that. Well, that obviously a huge boon to employee satisfaction within the bank, also a huge boon to getting productivity back. If you look at major car companies, they use our technology because, engineering is really key to them. And around a lot of CAD programs, you see the same problems, that things are running slow. We don't understand why this is slow. I can't produce your next car. We fix problems like that. Call centers today, most of them are now remote. They're not in the old call centers of the past. And as you know, most people don't like calling call centers either. And we can understand, are the applications loading faster? Is your customer data loading fast enough in order so that they can give you better service, faster response times? So these are very practical things that really make a difference in both businesses as well as in people's satisfaction at those companies. And that's kind of what we do. And it's fun to help people. I like to give an example finally about doctors. The National Health Service over in the UK, they had an issue where they were losing 900 doctor hours a month just due to the fact they're getting problems with their PCs. And it had really two impacts. One, they lost a lot of appointments. Doctors could typically do 2 appointments per hour. Most people are probably aware that post-COVID, there's a medical shortage. It's hard to get appointments. And they were losing approximately 1,800 appointments a month that couldn't get done. Those are people who couldn't get seen for, whatever their ailments were, heart, cancer, or whatever. Using our technology, we reduced that and gave them back 700 hours a month or 1,400 appointments, 16,800 appointments a year of patients who could be seen faster, have their health issues dealt with sooner. It's the equivalent of 7 full-time doctors for just a single hospital. So, these things matter, and it helps people and it helps them do their missions better. And that's what's fun about it.
Yeah. So if you think about the, I guess old school and still valid value selling, and Jeff Goldberg, rest in peace. But of what that example you just gave, if I'm your sales rep and I'm selling, it's not going to be a bunch of techno mumbo jumbo. It's going to be my lead in. Hey, here's how we can help you save this much, generate this much, and value selling is probably never been more important, right?
It's more important than ever. That consumer products company I mentioned, they save 30,000 outages a year using our products. Now, what's the business value of that? Well, one, employee productivity, obviously huge. And two, you think of how many tech support people you have to hire to deal with 30,000 outages. And, in every company I've ever worked with, we always were quote unquote, premium price products. And there's always competition. I've never been in a market without competition. So the ability to understand the true business value and articulate that, we learned that from Jeff Goldberg. I think Jeff Goldberg's been a huge influence on me, and it carries through to today, and it's more important than ever. And I think, unfortunately, there's still a lot of reps who just want to get to, let me tell you about the bits and bytes of a product, and let me drop my price because there's a competitor in here at a lower price. And that I don't think is a successful model.
Absolutely. And a couple of comments here. We had Phil Walton, was a very nice one, and it scrolled. There you go. Hello, Dave. You and Randy team ran the best team globally all time. I learned more with your team than from anyone else in my career. So thanks for that, Phil.
Thank you.
And then Ken Growy, kind of funny, says, hey, you both look like the two leaders that staffed the EMC recruiting booth at Boston College's campus in the RAT in 1988. Many people got their start from that EMC booth. Thanks. So that's pretty funny. And then from a LinkedIn user, since there's no BDRs at Riverbed, how do your sales reps identify upsell opportunities and identify net new? Do they use any intent platforms?
My joke when I got into Riverbed is we have every piece of software known to man, it's been purchased. But ultimately, what it really starts with is being very successful and honoring your commitments on when you first install. And I think, again, that goes across any business I've ever been in. And once you're successful in there and you've built that trust, what we see is customers bring us more use cases. So that example, that bank where we started with, hey, we've got this problem with our 40,000 most, expensive employees, that worked into, how can you help us with our green IT issues? How can you help us now that we're going to do VDI type of issues? How can you help us on mobile? And, your reputation really matters, whether it's your individual reputation or your company's reputation. And I'm a strong believer, and have always been, that your reputation is built by honoring your commitments to your customers and exceeding, what you promise them. And if you do that, that will spread. And I think ultimately that's the most effective way. I can also tell you about marketing programs I run very successfully, where once you kind of understand particular use cases that I've named some earlier here on this program that work, okay, we know those work. Now that we're going to go identify other customers either within this account or accounts that look just like this customer, who have that same profile, and explain to them the business benefits that we bought to other accounts that look like them, and replicate. And I think those are two very effective methods to do that, versus people just saying, hey, let's take some shots in the dark of something, that we've never done before and hope it works.
Absolutely. And I know you view selling as a team sport. What does that mean for you?
Totally. I think people, I don't like the idea of people saying, oh, the sales force is the only person accountable for the company's success. And they, if it goes bad, it's all the sales force's problem. It is a team sport because everybody's got a role to play. And what's been fun about my career is, from selling all the way through, I've worked in all these jobs. And so I can see firsthand both what are the challenges of individual functions within a company, but then what's their role to make things successful. If you're engineers, you have to deliver the product on time. It's got to work. It's got to have the features that customers want. If you're customer service, you have to provide service in a way that you would want to have service. The golden rule always applies. And, if you're in contracting, stop being a roadblock. I always say lawyers want a lawyer. And, most of the time, no one ever sues anybody. So just stop, come up with a couple things that are important to the company. Fine. No company wants to give unlimited liability. Get it. The rest of it, get out of the way and move forward. And so all of those things really matter. And that's what makes Salesforce successful. I can't tell you how many calls I've had here living out in the Valley. And they go something like this. Hey, we've got this awesome product. We need you to come in and manage the company because, the sales force is just horrible. And that'd make all the difference. And I always answer, that with the same question. I go, let me guess. So do you have the founders running the company? Yes. Okay. 90% of the time plus, it's a product market fit problem. It's not a selling problem.
Right.
It's if you have the right product market fit, things work. I can tell you to Oracle without delving into too much. Oracle, I think what surprises people is it has approximately about 150 different products. It's probably best known for its database and for its cloud, but it has about 150 products. And two products, again, I won't go into all the financials, but two products always outsell the rest. And so one day I got asked, by Larry, hey, why are these two products doing so well? Well, it's really simple. They had the best product market fit. They were the most differentiated from what the competition was doing, and they offered the best value to customers. And all that matters. That's part of the team sport.
Absolutely. And typically the founders engineering centric, not go to market centric.
Totally.
Textbook. So no correlation, of course, but Ken Growe commented, I see that Modigi is a sponsor. We use and leverage Modigi at our organization. He's at Taos, now part of IBM. And my prior place, Weka, game changer for incremental opportunity creation in a post-COVID work world. So thanks for that. Shout out, Ken. Now, also in my book, Your Go-To Sales Advisor, your contribution was meeting your commitments to your customers, which I know you're really passionate about.
Very much so. And I said, we've been doing this a long time now. And so with that, you get a lot of experience and you see what happens. And, the first phrase is most important. We've been doing this a long time, and I'm proud that after all these years, I can go into customers who I've helped. And, we promised we're going to do something and we did it. And that ability and that credibility that comes with meeting your commitments is huge. And, as my father always taught me, it's like, there's no shortcuts. Fly by night might get you by for a quarter, or it might get you a very short career, but it doesn't give you a long career, because people are going to recognize that, is this a person who's honest? Is this a person who honors their commitments? Or is this a person who doesn't? And the doesn't category, what I find, that doesn't last very long. I'll tell you a quick story on that. Just a side one. So when I was at HP, one of the trade shows, United Airlines came up, and frankly, I don't remember any of this, right? So they came up, they had a problem. They were not a customer I was particularly working with directly at that time. And it was a software bug and they wanted it addressed. So I followed up, I got engineering, fixed it, and never thought about it again. Several years later, I'm at Oracle, and, I sort of recognized the customer, but again, I had not met with them personally before. And it was two of them there, and it was a deal, and it was a very competitive deal. And the one guy,
Mike Tessino,
tells his boss, he says, hey, Dave's the guy who fixed that problem for us. And the competitive deal all of a sudden turned to, you're getting the deal.
Yeah.
Right. Because we know we can trust you. We know, you're making these commitments, and we know you're going to follow up and do that. So I view that as important for any company. And I view that for individuals here who want to have long-term careers in sales. That matters. And you'll never know. It's a small world. You're going to run into everybody again somewhere, and you never know where it's going to help you. But, that is an example where we got a deal that we might not have otherwise gotten because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And echoing those themes, you've had some, or we both had some fantastic influencers along the way. So I'll kind of ask about some of them. So Dick Egan, the EMC.
Yeah, the best. I mean, I always view Dick Egan as a father figure, almost, in the sense of, I never want to disappoint my parents. I never wanted to disappoint Dick Egan because he meant so much to me, and he gave me my opportunity. And we could do a whole show on Dick Eating. I'll give you a couple as it relates to sales. So, and I'll say these as quick as I can. And I'm saying them because I hope someone out there actually has what I'm about ready to talk about and they can send it to us. So the first was the famous yes, comma, it snows in New England memo. And, EMC was a very buttoned up culture. You had to wear a suit every day. But when it snowed, as long as you showed up, you can that was the one day before casual dress, you could actually show up casual. And Dick would come in every morning and do a loop around the bullpen to see who was there. And he did a loop. And, I was there, and not bragging, but I was a young kid. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get there. And not a lot of other people were. And he went into his office. Next thing you know, the admins come out. We're calling everybody, better get in here, better get in here. Out that afternoon comes out a mimeographed memo. This is before even copy. Yes, comma, it snows in New England. And to paraphrase it, because I can never say it as eloquently as Dick, our customers reside all over the world. Frankly, they do not know or care what the weather is in New England. But when they're calling us, for information they need in order to buy things from us. So if we're not here, guess what? They're going to the competition. Again, I'm paraphrasing a long memo. And the ends were always the killer. So yes, comma, it does snow in New England. And work starts at 8. And you're expected to be here. If you can't, I suggest you search for employment in a warmer climate. And then he would sign it big, with his name, Dick. And it's like the John Hancock. And next time it snowed, everybody was there at 8 o'clock. And the point was, don't make excuses, respect your job, and your job's got to get done. And again, huge part of the culture. Second one I'll give you is, back in those days, all the product managers, of which I was one, would price our products. Great job. Field would call in, you'd price the deal, and we had authority to do the deals one way or the other. Dick walks around and notices that used to get pink message slips, that all these messages were piling up. Next thing you know, a memo comes out. Our sales reps are, and again, I'm going to paraphrase a long memo short. Our sales reps are the conduit to our customers. So when a sales rep calls you, don't think of it as you're dealing with the sales rep. Think of it as a customer is waiting on the information they need to buy. And then again, the last line was always the killer. So if you find yourself so busy that you cannot immediately take a call from any sales rep, please forward your phone directly to me, and I will cover it for you until you can. Signed, Dick.
Yeah.
Life-changing stuff. A legend.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then Jack, who I think he's probably the person I worked for the longest in my career.
Yeah, Jack wasn't my longest, but Jack was my first, boss's boss. Jack, always very smart, treated me great. Even to this day, I ran into Jack about 4 months ago. I hadn't seen him in a long time. It was great to see him. And he really set the tone of, again, accountability and how to do good marketing. And that's when I worked for him, was under a marketing framework. And, how to think it through, how to get it out to the field in a way that worked. And then again, accountability, personal accountability for what you're doing.
Yeah, I was always amazed because he was kind of my direct line into headquarters when I was in the UK, and then also in Australia. And I'd always feel bad because he'd be, kind of 7x24, but always there to help, sacrificed probably more than anybody for EMC, and is, almost the unsung hero, I think, within EMC for kind of all he did. And certainly was tough being Dick's kid and, having running most of the company. And then aside from kind of sales and marketing efforts, when I had some product management roles, I remember we used to do these, a PMT, product management team, or something like that. But basically it would be, okay, what's the supply chain? What's sales forecast? What are we going to do? But just from an old school perspective, just to be able to have that full in purview to say, okay, therefore there's a long lead item for this. Sales thinks are going to do that. Okay, let's go buy this. Let's go do this. So that way then, you really didn't have a lot of the supply chain issues that, companies I think have today, just because there's that kind of old school way to really get everything together. But he was just kind of in the weeds of, so many different areas of the company.
You said that really well, because it's the other thing EMC really taught you is know your business. And, and you were always expected, regardless what your job was, to know very deeply what is going on at all times. And I like to say that to people when you say, I want to do a review. Like yesterday, I was calling the head of our major accounts in the East. I just randomly called him on the phone. I started going account by account by account by account. And he did a great job. We went through the whole thing. And what drives me crazy when you say, hey, I want to review something, people are like, well, I need 2 weeks. It's like, why? Right? You should know now.
Right.
You're supposed to be running this. You should be able to pick up in 5 minutes and do it. I'd say the same thing about a board meeting. If my board wants to have a meeting today, I'm very comfortable. Want to talk about this quarter's sales? Of course. Want to talk about our expenses? Absolutely. Because you have to know the details. And that's something I learned from Jack.
Yeah, totally great. Another great one, Mike Rucker's probably most famous for early on fixing some of the quality problems that we had.
Yeah. So at the time, it was a very dark days for EMC. Everything was breaking. And the new guy, who was Mike Ruckers, we threw everything at him. Come on this call. These people hate us. You'll have a great time. And I'd say from Mike, I learned really a ton about the importance of facts and data, right? So the way all those really technical problems were fixed was first really on a factual basis, not opinions, because everybody's got opinions, is on a factual basis, understanding what's really breaking, setting up true measurement systems to understand, what's our trend line? Are we getting better? How are we getting better? What's improving? And again, particularly in any company, data works. Particularly the bigger organization you run, data is critical. And facts and data are one of the great things that Mike bought. And the other thing about Mike was, Mike's pulse never went above this. Yeah. The worst thing on earth could be going on, and he was always calm. And another great leadership trait, which is, when everybody's losing their mind, stay calm, steady the course, keep everybody going towards your strategy.
Yeah, there's one time he brought a bunch of us in. I think we just missed a quarter or two, and probably about as pissed off as Mike gets. He didn't yell, but you could just the tone in his voice and just kind of the quivering and the shaking. So there were times where he would emote. And then other side that when I first respected him as running the West, and he kind of was in charge of kind of the manufacturing, procurement, all that. So he would come out and he'd be like, okay, hey, let's go. We've got, Samsung. Okay, hey, how can I help? So the concept of kind of just not necessarily reciprocity, but making sure that, hey, if EMC or whoever is buying a lot from Samsung, say, then, hey, you should give our sales team, a fair at bat. But kind of that, connecting the dots, it's something that really helped out a lot. And he was also really interested and helpful in, just the selling process as well. Little do we know he's going to be the CEO. So
yeah, but I owe my general management career to Mike, because he's the one who gave me the opportunity that I didn't even see. He moved me into customer service, and that's kind of a long story, because he was traveling. They said, come to service. This guy, Dan Butler, was running at the time. I need you to come over and manage. And I said, and at the time I was in marketing. I'm like, well, Dan, thank you very much. Appreciate it. See you later. Go back to my desk. And it is symbolic, because EMC had 2 buildings. Went back to the sales and marketing building where kind of the cool kids hung out. And Mike called me back and said, no, you're missing the point. You're going back over to service. And we started a major recall the next day. And that was my first job, deal with the recall. But I learned a lot how to manage, and that enabled me to do what I do today. And I'm very grateful to Mike for helping me do that. I think the second quick story I'll tell you about Mike that was really funny was when we first entered the open systems business. For as calm as he is, like you said, he's ultimately competitive. And our first quarter there, we missed our number by a mile. Now we ended up, the end of the story is we beat our number for the year, which was great. But the first quarter was horrible. So here I am. I was going to business school at the time at Kellogg, and all of a sudden I get paged back in the day, and Mike had shipped all of us on the executive team leftover product in our office, and it had to stay in our office until it was all sold. And that was his message of, I'm ticked, and it's in your office. You're going to be embarrassed until you figure out how to sell this stuff.
Amazing. And then obviously we can talk all day about this, three fantastic leaders, but moving on at HP,
Yep.
Mark Hurd, quick story I'll tell. I remember I was getting ready for my first review after you brought me on, and we're in the preparation room, and I think I remember Linda Williams, I think Jazz Sued, and kind of who else the team, and kind of you did, okay, Randy, so what's your server market share here and this and that, blah, blah, blah. But
glasses down, yeah.
But the attention to detail, right? I mean, I was never more equipped in terms of knowing my facts. And then these other people would get, so like, if I don't know something, I'll say, I don't know. But then these other people would try and fake it. You could just see they're just going off the cliff. And then he would just be kind of like a Ginsu knife. But,
yes.
I mean, that, and anyway, that's my story. I'll let you go.
No, I'd say, Mark, first of all, Mark was a great seller, right? He grew up as a salesperson, then a branch manager, and then ultimately the CEO. So he loves selling. I used to love going on calls with him. Our joke is we compete for airtime, like who really said the best thing. So a lot of fun, but also what I'd say on the flip side is Mark can make a spreadsheet bleed. No one knew numbers and facts and figures better than Mark, and really challenge you that you better know your business because he's going to challenge you. When I first went to Oracle and I worked for him there, he was CEO, and my new finance person, this has been my first big Mark meeting. And I said, whatever you do, triple check your numbers. They better be right because he's going to find it. Oh yeah, we're good. We got it. We're like 5 minutes in, this huge spreadsheet we put up. I mean, you could barely read. And he's like, row 8, that's wrong. Meeting over, come back when you have your facts straight. Done. And I was like, looking at the guy, I'm like, told you. So he's an amazing guy. He was a great friend. I learned a ton from Mark, and I miss him every day. For those who don't know, tragically, Mark died, and
Yes.
I miss him every day. He's just a great guy.
Fantastic person. And I know you've got something of a hard stop. So maybe quickly, Larry Ellison.
Larry's great to work for. Self-deprecating, wants to be kind of part of the team, wants to beat around ideas and find the right engineering solution. I think an incredibly inspiring guy when you're there, because he's not very public about it, and I'm not going to reveal his secrets. But beyond Oracle, he's involved in medical all these different startups, all these different things. I say he makes you feel like you're such kind of like an underachiever in life, because even having done this so long, and I try and be always about the future. What's the next thing? What's the next peak? He's actively engaged. And like I said, great to work for. I think very highly of him. I learned a lot from him.
Yeah, fantastic. So getting to the end here. So any PG Randy stories to tell? I don't know if I have any specific ones. I would say, for the folks listening, I met Randy as fall of my freshman year through a guy named Lance Nelson. So shout out to Lance. He's like, yeah, I know this other guy. He's a junior and he's having a party. We can go. And that was Randy. So that's how I met him. And then, Randy was incredibly entrepreneurial through college. He ran the BC entrepreneurial group and had all kinds of different businesses. I know, no surprise, how that's carried over in his life. And then he also was really in charge of the rugby team, and a bunch of my roommates played, and I used to go to the games. And so I'd see Randy singing his rugby songs and having a beer or two after the games. And those were my impressions of Randy. The final thing I'll say is when I was looking to graduate, Randy came back for a football game, and you just gotten back from Australia, at least for the game. I think I think that's the right context. You'd been on some trip and we were talking about it, and you're like, yeah, I work at EMC, and true story. The first thought in my head, I didn't say this at the time, I was like, wow, he was a really smart guy and really successful, and he's working at EMC. I mean, EMC was completely unheard of. And that's what got me to look at EMC. And that's, then EMC became my number one choice to go work at. And literally the rest is history, a whole career from meeting Randy as a freshman through Lance Nelson at Boston College. Awesome. Great. And I had the pleasure of working for you, which is, again, great experience as well. So great to see you shine. And I assume you still have your hard stop, right?
I do.
Okay, got it. All right. So lots we didn't get to, but fantastic. Great lessons learned. For those that commented or asked questions, thank you so much. Next, thanks to Modigi for sponsoring. For those that are sales community, thanks. Tucker, if you want, you can throw my the book link on there. Lots of great content in there. And next week is going to be episode 152. We have Amit Bendoff, who's the CEO of Gong. That's actually going to be Monday, 11:30 a.m. East time. So, Dave, awesome. Thank you so much. Tucker, thanks for your help behind the scenes. And everybody, I guess we almost got a weekend coming up here. So, great weekend and great holiday.